Hi everyone, this is Amani Ragab Hacking from the Hacking Law Practice. I'm an immigration attorney and we practice out of our St. Louis office in St. Louis, Missouri. So I want to talk to you today about addresses. Addresses. Why are addresses so important? What do they tell us? Why does immigration ask so many questions about addresses? What is an address? Okay, an address is any place you've ever lived, any place that you've ever stayed, any place that you could receive mail, any place that people can say, oh yeah, I knew that she lived down the street or she lived in this apartment. Anything that's reflected on your taxes, anything that's reflected on a photo ID, a driver's license, a credit card statement, any prior leases that you had. All of these things are former addresses, and you need to recognize them and you need to remember them. You need to remember who you live with, why you live there, how long you live there, who you live with, okay? And why is this important? This is important because it tells immigration who you are and what you were doing in the United States and for how long, okay? And so if you're here on a student visa and then you get married, how long were you here on the student visa? Who did you live with when you were on the student visa? When did you live with your spouse? When did you begin living with that spouse? Did you ever live apart, okay? And for what reason? So there may be legitimate reasons why you live apart. Maybe it's for employment, maybe it's for school, maybe there were marital issues. The point is there are reasons and they're going to want to know those reasons. So you need to be prepared and have a timeline and a good understanding of where you lived, when you lived there, why you lived there, and who lived there with you. And if for some reason, like I said, you were living apart or there was a period of time where there was some separation, you have to be able to explain it. And what they're testing is this a valid marriage? So can it be a valid marriage if you live apart? It can, though it makes things a little bit more complicated. For one, if you happen to have different addresses, you need to know the other spouse's address, okay? This just happened to me today at an interview where the client knew his address, but didn't know the exact address for his wife. And so the officer started to ask a lot of questions. Well, how often do you go there? And do you have any items there? And how do you get there from the airport, right? So very detailed questions about why should I believe you if you don't know where your wife lives, okay? So thankfully we were able to rehabilitate that and give the detail that the officer needed to confirm the relationship, but these are things that you need to be thinking about. And are things in both your spouse's names, and what are those things? And be careful when you're giving documents to the government that may reflect an address that you've never told them about, okay? And why is that? Maybe you forgot, or maybe that was such a short period of time you neglected to put it on the application. In any event, you need to clarify all that, look at all of those things that you have, and make sure that you have a detailed address list. And so it's all about being honest, being truthful about where you were and what you were doing, and understanding why these things are so important. So immigration wants to know why you're here and what have you been doing. And so that's what addresses tell you. So a lot of clients kind of skip through those and give us partial addresses, or give us a correct address, but maybe the unit number is wrong. So they could come to your house. Okay, they might go to your neighbor's house and say, hey, does so-and-so live there? No, they don't live in apartment G. So now, are you telling the truth? No, right? Maybe it was confusing, but what can you do to fix that? Be specific and be clear about where you're living and when you're living there and why you're living there. And make sure it all makes sense and present it in a documented way so that they know that you're telling the truth. And if they want to verify that, they can. And if they're looking at neighbors and other history, they're looking at DMV records. They can look at, in the state of Missouri, Missouri CaseNet. So legal records if they wanted to. So there are things that they can do to check and see where you're living. They may or may not be that aggressive, but you should be prepared and make sure that you can explain those addresses. Okay, so take your time, and if you want any further information about that and make sure you do a good job with your applications, please don't hesitate to contact us at the Hacking Law Practice, 314-961-8200. Thank you.